Oh my. Oh, there's been an update on that No Home. So, for anyone who hasn't been following the controversy of the past day and a half or whatever, Electronic Arts' upcoming Star Wars Battlefront 2? Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this specific game there, but is a, $60 game plus a $25 starter pack plus heavy loot box microtransaction pay to win situation. That is also a Star Wars game where you can't play as Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader to start. You have to unlock that. My understanding, again, based on I haven't done the research myself, so based on some Reddit comments and the like, would be that to, say, unlock Darth Vader with the system they had as of a day and a half ago, would require 40 hours of gameplay to unlock a core to unlock Darth Vader in a game that you already paid $60 for. Or alternatively, you could pay $65 for enough in-game currency to unlock it. So, in response to all of this, EA lowered the in-game currency price of them by 75%. So that would still be 10 hours, which is still ridiculous. And also, what I've heard is that they probably also lowered the reward gains of many things by 75%. So, I mean, the abusive practices of microtransactions and loot boxes are starting to come to a head over this year, really. Like, they've been around for a while. Like, Team Fortress 2 has been doing it since 2010 or something like that. But as far as ramping them up and making them something added on top of a game you're already paying a bunch of money for, and so many other abusive things on top of that have kind of grown because of Overwatch and gotten worse and worse. And yeah, I mean, I guess probably my general recommendation is, like, don't just not give in to the loot boxes. Try to just not buy games that focus on that as part of their monetization model. It is pretty much scummy and abusive, and it's, like, let's put it this way, the fact that whale is even a common terminology in the game industry at this point is ridiculous. It, like, really emphasizes how abusive and predatory these practices are. You're just taking advantage of the psychology of 1 in 200 players or so, that because of the way their brains work, they'll be compelled to spend way more than they want to on your game because of your gambling loot box practices. Yeah, let's not do that, and let's not encourage that. And I'm gonna furthermore say that if it's something like Overwatch, it's still not okay. Just because it's cosmetic only does not actually make it okay. That's still abusive predatory practices that take advantage of the psychology of a certain small percentage of people. Like, Overwatch loot boxes for, like, the average player that, might throw in, like, $5, $10 extra to try out for some loot boxes, that's fine, but there's no limit. There's no cap. There's no curbing the practice for the people whose psychology will just make them spend $1 bajillion on it, and maybe not even be able to afford that, really, but, yeah, it's something that should be definitely talked about actively and, avoided, really. Like, I will say that, like, some devs have been kind of taking a bit more middle ground, like Remy Ismaili and Jonathan Blow, former Nuclear Throne Glenbeer guy, and second one, Witness and Braid there. saying, like, there's commentary about, like, well, the $60 price of a game was set like 20 years ago, and with inflation that's more like $90 or $100 now, so the developers and publishers need to find more ways to make money to make up that difference, which makes some sense on the surface, but also still isn't accurate, because there's a lot of games in the AAA world that aren't $60 anymore. They're like, here's the game, it's $60, wink wink. Oh, but if you want the silver edition, that'll be $80. If you want the gold edition, that'll be $100. Sometimes they do that and then throw microtransactions on top of that. And no. And you've also got various side aspects, like the cost of, you don't have to pay as much to produce physical media as you used to. Like, making cartridges was expensive, and now a good portion of sales are digital, and there's a lot of ways that costs have come down as well. So I'm not saying that, like, I understand it. They're businesses. Businesses are designed to make crap loads of money, and that's what they try to do. But these are really abusive practices, and there are better ways for them to make their money, and I would encourage people to vote with their wallets and not only refuse to buy loot boxes in these games, but don't buy those games at all in the first place. Greetings, Telna. So there you go. There's some discussion on the current controversy there. But like, yeah, as far as like what Rami and Jonathan Blow were kind of saying, like, well, devs still need to make money and stuff, and that's true. But I feel like they've already been doing a lot of other like potentially borderline stuff that I'm not a fan of, but is a lot more ethically sound, I guess. You're like saying, okay, well, you can get this enhanced version for $100, and it has this extra content, and you know exactly what you're getting, and there's a limit. That's where it stops. That's all you're spending on it. That goes a long way to make it more reasonable. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm not that interested in most AAA games and the sort of experiences they're offering regardless, but if I were, I would be even less interested for sure. Exactly, Lancer. Like, gacha games in general, and like Jim Sterling's been putting out a lot of pretty good videos on the subject as well that, you know, go into detail about all the ways that like games are not actually $60 and stuff like that. Hey, Slug. Yep, I'm ahead of Oddfar asking about Overwatch loot boxes. Like, there are different tiers, right? Like, if you're paying for an in-game advantage, like in Star Wars Battlefront 2 or whatever here, like, you can get 10% extra damage boost or whatever garbage there. That is worse than purely cosmetic. I'm not saying that's not still worse, but that doesn't mean purely cosmetic gets a pass. Like, a lot of people have been given purely cosmetic a pass. It's like, alright, whatever, you don't need to buy it, it doesn't affect gameplay. But A, cosmetics are actually part of the game, and liking cosmetics is fine. And B, it's still really predatory on people with those sort of mindsets just because of how their brains work. Yeah, Draco, the opposite is a little unfortunate too. Like, it would be if you want to talk like wider scale, it would be really cool to, well, expand on like some level of pay what you want tipping culture in general, which is weird because tipping in restaurants is kind of bad and like stupid, and there's but like make more things like Twitch in some ways, I guess, but like say like I don't know, because advertising is stupid. It doesn't like is kind of dying off and has its own problems in a lot of ways, and like it would be nice to have like an easy way to be like, hey, I liked this article I just read, I'm gonna click this button that gives them 25 cents for it, or like more than you would get from just watching ads. But like right now the difference between zero money and some money as a purchase level for supporting much of anything is massive. It's a really drastic difference there. You can see this in like the indie game market, for example, where generally games are going to find more success being $0, but ad supported or microtransaction supported versus a game that's $1. You're sitting here, like there's a lot of people sitting there with their, you know, $400 phones or whatever, and but they're really hesitant to pay $1 for an app they like or a game they like on a mobile environment. So it's I realize I'm getting plenty tangented here, but that's to be expected. Hearthstone packs are similarly abusive at Calm, yeah. Like I mean, Hearthstone, like constructed Hearthstone was unplayable to me, basically. Like I played Hearthstone like for 100 hours and it was still unplayable. I could only play Arena at any level of competitiveness or interest in the game because of how restrictive the system was. And again, like, they don't charge me to play that, so, but like, if I just could pay like, I don't know, $25 to have the whole game, that probably would have been worth it for me, but I wasn't terribly interested in buying loot boxes and card packs or whatever that give me very little return and take like thousands of dollars to actually unlock everything in that game at this point, probably, right? Probably more? I don't know. It's pretty abusive. I've heard Gwent's system is a lot more reasonable than Hearthstone's. And that's another tier too, right? When we're talking about just how bad these systems are, right? Like, if the game's free to play to begin with, and then you're, you know, buying loot box stuff on top of that, that's one thing that is different than a game that you're already paying $60 for that then has loot box stuff on top of that as well. Those are also different things. Oh man. Cheers, Ferba. See, that's what I'm talking about. Everyone has to give me a quarter for my content. Still catching up on chat here. Greetings, Dolphin. Yeah, see, that's kind of how you make it not super predatory, Thelvin, where it's like, all right, well, you got simi whales at that point, right? Rather than a pure whale that okay, well, these people are gonna spend money on unlocking a bunch of stuff, but we're gonna cap them at $100, and they can't spend any more than that. That's just gonna unlock everything. That's definitely a good approach, like an ethical approach. Probably not a business sense approach necessarily, but we'll see. That like helps curb that sort of stuff. Cheers, Matt. That's an interesting thought, Celerity. I think there's probably some of each. So Celerity brought up that they feel like whales aren't really gambling. They're interested in like avoiding the RNG, just getting everything. Yeah, that's definitely a factor as well. I was mostly just joking. Mostly. Cheers, Telda and Bailey. But yeah, like that is a factor too. Just like that's a somewhat related but different psychological factor of like that desire or need to have everything, whether you care that much or not. But it is also it's both. It's definitely not just one or the other. I have definitely heard tale of like, you know, just random anecdotes, so grain of salt or whatever, but it's still one tale of a small dev that made like a little web game that they threw loot boxes into for fun, and they figured out at one point that one player had spent more money on loot boxes in their little game than was required to unlock everything in the game. They just like the randomness of pulling stuff out of the loot boxes, so they did so. I do not know by any means how like where like different levels of psychology and addiction and stuff lie on the scale of the you know, less than 1% of whales in a given game, but that is a fair thing to bring up. That is another aspect there. Yeah, exactly. It's like, alright, here's Cuphead. It's $20. We're gonna make it awesome and do things we shouldn't do during development, like remortgaging our house, but it paid out for them this time, because they sold over 1 million copies. They're probably up to like 1.5 million at this point. Cuphead sold ridiculously. Hey there, Xenon. Yeah, that's like another thing, the difference between buying direct things and buying the gambling loot box aspect. So, I was about to say you could look at League of Legends, but I'm pretty sure they have loot boxes now, although I'm pretty sure that's also made it easier to get some stuff without paying for it, so I don't know the current state of League at all. Hey, Daharian. See, like, FTL was like almost, it was like the opposite. I was like upset with them for not charging me for Advanced Edition. I was like, look, FTL devs, look. Charge $2. I'm not even asking you to charge a lot, but if you charge $2 for Advanced Edition here, let's see. Okay, let me actually run some quick math on that. I mean, they would have made a lot of money. So, like, the default counter argument there, right, is like, oh, well, the FTL devs get goodwill by giving the expansion away for free. Yeah, they don't get enough goodwill to make up for the sales differences here. I'm just trying to bring up how many copies of FTL have been sold on Steam in total. If I remember right, it is, okay, about 3 million, just under 3 million, so 2.8. Let's just copy that number on in here. Now, expansions are going to not get like a massive uptick, generally speaking. Actually, I could probably check what Necrodancers were. Oh no, it doesn't have amplified on here, I don't think. But yeah, from what I've heard, the general expectation for conversion from the number of people who bought a game versus how many people buy the expansion is going to be something around 10% if you do a good job of it, and your game is, you know, well liked, well regarded. So let's say 8%. Let's say 8%. So that's 225,000 copies times $2 each, except they're not going to be all $2 each. So some will be on sale, but it would be newer than the base game, so not like massive sales. But let's say average price of like $1.4, and take out Steam cuts. That's another $220,000 for the FTL devs by just charging $2 for an expansion they could have charged $5 for. You know, but I'm not saying they're not doing well. They're doing very comfortably, and that's great. But oh god, I'm even further behind on chat now. Oh my. Yeah, I mean, as far as like humble bundles of God Baylor, I've always spent like just a little over the minimum. If I'm buying like the $1 tier for a bundle, I've always been like, okay, at least throw like $1.50. If I want these games, it's worth at least paying something for. That's an interesting thought, Ironfurs. There certainly wouldn't be the same level of focus and designing around loot boxes in the way they are without whales, but there certainly could be some level of loot boxes without whales. That's kind of hard to say, right? Because, like I said, I think if like it wasn't abusive to a certain portion of the population, I think like a cosmetic focused system like Overwatch would be fine. Then like ideally it would be a little tweaked so that it's a little easier to get stuff you actually want, but you get like some number of average players. Let's say I actually recently saw some numbers on this. Well, I saw it for League and Hearthstone. What would I guess for Overwatch is? Overwatch is a game you're already spending $40 for, something cosmetic. Let's say like 15% of players buying, you know, at least a couple loot boxes. That still might be worth their time to do as a system and might help continue funding the game experience. I mean, this happens with games that I like. Like, I like Overwatch. I think as a game, it's good. I like Rocket League a lot, and I think as a game, it's quite good too. I do like that Rocket League specifically has an option in the settings. You can just be like, hide all loot box related stuff. Check that. You don't see any of it ever again. So that was really cool. Yeah, I'm sure people could look up some more specific numbers, but generally speaking, like, whales are going to be somewhere between 0.5% and 1% of a game's player base, and they're going to, like, well, if we're talking, like, free-to-play game, or whatever, like, say a mobile game or something, whale's going to be, like, 0.5% to 1% of a game's player base, but they're going to make up about 50% of the game's sales profits. That's an estimate based on numbers I've seen over several sources, but I don't have numbers handy, so if you want real numbers, be sure to double check. Oh hey, Necrodancer's only $3 right now, by the way. Just happened to see that while looking at the sales figures and stuff there. there, Xenon. Yep, Magic the Gathering stuff, and Magic got worse in design in several ways too, with like the mythic rare garbage and stuff. And keep in mind, Blizzard, that makes, you know, Hearthstone and Overwatch is owned by Activision, and Activision is the company that just literally patented ways to abuse players more with microtransaction garbage. Literally patented systems that are like, hey, we've identified an item that would be beneficial to this player and make them stronger, so we're going to match them up against an opponent that has that item, so they'll probably lose and see the opponent using that item. That's kind of sickeningly abusive, isn't it? They said they haven't used anything like that in their games yet. Hey, Zephyr Gandhi. Formal fighting. Interesting, Solarity. Yeah, if you have like any further articles as far as like kind of the misconceptions on whales there or anything like that, feel free to link them my way, like especially on like Steam or Discord or something. Yeah, that's true, Baylor. If you're having problems with gambling and loot boxes, the correct answer is not to encourage them to actually go gambling. Loot boxes are really getting there on the stigma, Telna. Specifically, like over the last year. Like I kind of touched on that a bit earlier, where like they've been around as a concept for like, I don't know exactly how long, but at least like even on PC games for 7 years or whatever with Team Fortress 2. Completely lost my train of thought. But yes, there's been a lot of people that have been reasonably accepting of them in the gaming community, especially for cosmetics only, but that tide is shifting, that tide is turning. Oh yeah, that's it, yep, Terraria 2, Thalfin. That is a game that has put out about 3 expansions worth of content and never charged for it because people just kept buying the base game, so they didn't need to or didn't feel like they should or wanted to. And yeah, that's definitely a thing, Celerity, as far as continuing to support a multiplayer experience. So it's not the most simple thing. There's not like just an easy automatic answer for everything. But I do think that a lot of current practices, especially what has kind of been ramping up over the last couple of years here, are often very predatory, and it can be done better. And we should try to encourage it to be done better.